Good morning, Facebook. Morning sniff jobs here. So I'll talk a little bit about letting people do their thing. And little story, we went and saw Bobby Knight at Emmons like 4 or 5 years ago. And you think he's a hard ass, and he was talking about all the stuff that he'd let his players decide because he really didn't care. You know, he wanted you to play hard and be fundamentally sound, but he let them do all kinds of things. And we've been bombarded with work. You know, I make time to make these videos and share, but life's been pretty hectic. We got too much chicken, so we had a little mix up with ordering. We still got chickens in this barn, and we're meaning to get them out on tractors. So I told Sarah, I said, just build a chicken tractor however you want. You've seen it day to day. You know, try to innovate and do something a little bit differently and cheaper, because what we're doing now, we made up the sheep tractors, but we're going off of a John Skovovich design on our chicken tractors. They're about $400, let alone the labor. And there's a lot of labor in moving the, cutting the 2x4s in half. I don't know what they call that, but it is a weak point. So we had labor. We had a bunch of supplies left over from our sheep tractors here in the barn. And she's been working on this the last couple days. And basically just using what we have. She's made it structurally sound here on the corners. As you move that, you really need to do that. We might have to put a center thing right there, but she put a little slope on here. And what she's gonna do is make a easier way to water where we don't have to get up in there. She's gonna get some PVC and an automatic feeder. And this will be like a 60 or 70 chicken tractor. It'll be really cool watching her design it. And I'm sure, look at her little door here. That's pretty cool. Oh, that's real neat. This is the first time I've seen it, so I'm just sharing it with you. Look, she moved around this latch thing. They go in right there. That's pretty cool, Sarah. We'll put a little tarp on there and go from there. So anyway, my point is this: quit being a control freak. Let people do things, and you know, I'm sure she's going to look at that, and she'll be the one moving it around, and she'll come up with an idea. And you just have these different, you know, you see it in the software business. You got version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, like I'm doing with our relay cropping constant canopy. And the ideas are generated by you doing it instead of YouTubing it. You can YouTube to get the idea, but you got to do to create and get better. So wow, we got about 1.5 inches of rain. I think we got like 1.1 or 1.2 here, about 1.5 inches back home. And been really excited to come out here and check this out. Our popcorn is just about ready to tassel. Again, this was planted June 5th, so it's, you know, 5 or 6 weeks behind most of the field corn in the area. But this rain was a big deal because we got a lot of plants that are requiring water right now, and this will get us pretty much to the finish line. So the way we manage that, you've seen we've got sheep in between all these rows, so that'll turn, you know, that into that. And this is so much, they're doing so much things other than just the value of their meat here that we couldn't recreate with, you know, a mower. And they're trampling down this vegetation, they're eating it, that is starting to recover. Like you see right here, it's bringing a tiller out, they're depositing their manure, and they're pruning. And now this whole corn plant, you know, it's a game of inches. We delayed the sorghum Sudan grass until this was like a V3, but it's still ahead of it to get sunlight. But now all these leaves can get light. And think about, in an organic situation, we can't spray you know, fungicides and things like that. And farmers spray fungicides because we're so focused on single entity yield. But if we can change the system to where we use these animals to do that job, now we get sunlight and airflow in here, it'll dry the leaves out, and we don't have that same pressure. So that's tackling the derivative instead of looking at the problem. And that's why America today, a lot of people have 19 prescriptions counter. If a doctor was tough on, they said, maybe you should eat better and exercise. You know, we got to start thinking about that true derivative somewhat in these agriculturalists. He loves this. I hope he doesn't get dirty, because My wife cleaned them up real good last night. But we don't have any chicks and cockaburs out here because we hadn't sprayed and really created the last. So these sheep have went all the way through that whole row, and then he'll go back around there. And I'd say in 2 weeks, we'll have this whole popcorn thing grazed down. We got this popcorn thing back here, and we got that other field that you saw yesterday. So we get into the hemp now, and this is crazy. We've had, you know, the sheep ran through it, and then the chickens. And I've talked about how they, you know, we've laid down all this manure, but look at how this has completely recovered. We actually mowed this and weed eated the sorghum to just kind of get it all on the same page. But it's come back with even more, you know, ferociousness and thickness, even though we mowed this down to the ground with animals, from how that plant works. So where is a weed going to grow? Well, you see one right there. There's the butter print. We got a little thin on our rye mat right there. See, exposed soil creates weeds. We get a little bit thicker, and we'll take advantage, you know, take care of that. But let's take a look at our chickens while we're out here. I'm really starting to enjoy them more and more every day. My shoes are getting wet, so we're going to drop them right here. Side of the water bucket, remember that. I might call you here in a bit. This is my favorite part of the day. It's wet, it's all clean. You don't want to get your flip-flops wet when you try to move these chicken tractors. It takes a little torque. So they're really starting to disturb more. You can see what's coming in. They're next to Bogey. And then what they've done here, we're moving them twice a day now. So I'll just move them a little bit here. And that's kind of the difference there. That's what they're doing in the course of 8 hours overnight, and laying all this manure down. And we're using, if you actually watch the Ray Archuleta video I shared, that was from a few years back, but he was talking about new energy versus old energy. So you know, all the gas that you burn in your car, that's, you know, that's plant energy, that's solar energy from thousands or millions of years ago. Your natural gas, all that stuff. How can we make the most of new energy? The more we make the use of new energy through these agronomic algorithms that use both cover crops, perennials, cash crops, thatch, animals, movement, modular, and then you tie in the marketing to create the, you know, the margins to be able to do this. It requires less and less and less and less of old energy. And that's what we're trying to do. And it's takes a lot of work to, and you got to go slow, but that's kind of what we're working on here. Look at these views. You know, Jimmy John says free smells. It smells pretty good. This stuff is starting to really ventilate a little bit. Can't beat that sunlight in them chickens. So those, we didn't sex those. We got roosters and hens in there. They're all gonna be. So you'll have these available in our meat truck this fall. You'll be able to buy this whole chicken that was grown in this fashion, as well as our sheep. And hopefully next year we're going to scale this up ourselves. And the whole idea, as I ramble on, I've had a couple coffees this morning, is creating a platform for young farmers to come in, and instead of looking at the farming as, hey, I've got to farm 500 or 1,000 acres and compete with these guys that have all this paid for land, they can come in here and create all this stuff and create so much more value on every square inch because they're focusing on new energy, these new agronomic algorithms. And if we can, again, create a way of marketing this, it's going to empower young farmers to do what they love, a nice clean living and so on. But all right, I think I've went off on a lot of the tangents that I normally talk about. But you just look at some of these plants now. Again, we purposely put them in this fashion. You know, most people plant 5,000 plants an acre. We're at 1,000, and you can see how big and wide these plants are getting. So you're getting multiple plants in one, basically. And you get here where it's really growing well. We're pretty much canopied shut there. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Share it. Weirder and weirder, but you know, I had a guy from Corteva out here a while back, and I said, you know, going back to, you know, the status quo paradigm that agriculture is in, and I kept apologizing for being weird, but you know, he kind of stopped me and said, but are you really weird? Right? I mean, once I think the reason why I encourage so many people to do things is they're smarter than me, so if they can give me constructive criticism, do things on their own, then together we learn at such a more expedited rate. And I think that's how we're going to get to where I'd like. So it does, you don't have to do this. You don't have to have your. You gonna keep eating that? Is that good stuff? Oh, Bogey likes it. All right, see you guys.